Yo, what up, YouTube gang? Okay, so we're back. Alright, so in this part of the video, what we're going to be focusing on is initializing our project. We will also be doing some base configuration since we're going to be working with the JSP or JSPs as our views. For those of you who don't know, JSP stands for Java Server Pages. And so in this video we're just going to do some base configuration and then setting up the project structure, and then everything else we will do later on. Okay, so I have the Spring Initializer website open. You can go into Google and just type Spring Initializer. This will be the website that will pop up. Otherwise, I will leave a link in the description below for this to this particular site. Alright, first things first. Before we start downloading the project, make sure you have Java 17 and higher installed on your machine. I'm running Java version 19.0.1, but you can just install Java 19 if you want to, but just make sure that you have Java 17 and higher. Otherwise, anything lower than that, Springboot is not going to work with this current version. If you want to work with earlier versions, it will work, but I would recommend just using the current one and the recommended install the recommended Java on your machine, which is 17 and higher. So in any case, let's start with setting up the project. So here I'm going to rename this to user auth, and then I'm just going to name this underscore v1. Gonna do the same thing here, and then I'm going to name this v1, and the description can just be user okay. So now I just want to remove this, just say underscore v1. Alright, so there's a couple of dependencies that we need, but from the ones that we can get from the Spring Initializer website is going to be the following. So it's going to be obviously web, then it's going to be, we're going to work with a MySQL database, so we're going to select MySQL, and then obviously we want the JPA API, and that's it. Everything else we will set up manually. And then just make sure you have Maven selected, and then also make sure you're using Java. You have the Java language selected. Alright, so now I'm going to generate the project. Now you can save this wherever you want. I have a specific folder where I save my projects, which is on my drive, but you can save it wherever you want. Okay, so now we need to go here and extract our project. Alright, so now that we have our project extracted, I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to open with my IntelliJ Community Edition. Let's just give it a second to load. Apologies, it opened up on the other page. Alright, so I'm just going to click load so that it loads all the Maven dependencies and modules. And then I think let me just pause the video for, or maybe I don't need to. Alright, so that was quick. So now the first thing I want to do now is come within this particular folder here, and we're just going to create some of the folders, and then we'll move on to adding the other, what you call it, dependencies. So the first one I want to add is controller. The next one is going to be config, and then it's going to be help us, services, models, what's the other one, repository, and then let me see, interceptors. I think that's probably all the folders that we're gonna need. Now let's come within the pom.xml file. Alright, so here within the dependencies, I'm just going to make a comment here. JSP right. So give me 1 second, I'm gonna copy them over. Alright, so to work with JSP files, these are the dependencies that we need. Why is this giving this? Oh, sorry. Alright, so these are the dependencies that we're gonna need. Let me just reload the Maven project. So we're gonna need a couple of dependencies. So this is the first one, the Tomcat embedded Jasper. The second one is the JSP JSP JSTL API along with this one. So now I'll explain the JSTL one later on, because we are going to be using some JSTL expressions within our JSP files. So we do need this one as well. So but just make sure to copy these 3 dependencies as they are, because we're going to need that to work with the JSP files and so forth. Alright, so the other ones we'll add later on, but for the time being I believe that's all we need for now. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to come in here and create a file. I'm just gonna say by the way, I'm here within the controller folder. Then I'm just gonna create the index controller. Then we need to annotate and say controller. And then in here, I'm just going to create a get method. So I'm going to use model and view object for this, and then I'm going to call this get index. And then to set this up, we're going to say model and view and then and then we need to call index. And then we can also add an object to name the page. We're going to say dot add object, and then the name of this is going to be page, and then we can just call this home. You can call it whatever you want, but I'm just going to call it home. And then here we need to return the index page. Again, my apologies if the keyboard is quite noisy. Again, I'm sitting on a different machine, but yeah, I'm using a mechanical keyboard, so if it's loud through the mic, my apologies. Get mapping, and then this will be that. Alright, so if we run the project now, this is not going to work because we haven't set up the project to work with JSP files. So there's a little bit of configuration that we need to do before we can do that. So we're going to come here within the config. Now I'm going to use a Java. You can do this. You can do the configuration here within the application or properties file, but I'm going to use a Java class to do that. So I'm going to come here within the config folder. Then I'm going to say new Java class, and I'm going to call this application config. Again, you can name it whatever you want. Then we're going to need a couple of annotations. We're going to say configuration, and then the other one is going to be at component scan. And then I'm going to say base packages. which is going to equal to. So now this is going to be this base package here. Alright, so we're going to name that, we're going to say com dot user auth underscore v1. So this will be the base package. So this basically, this file will look within this folder for all the base packages and stuff. Okay, so we need to create a view resolver within our class here. So it's going to be public, and then we're going to say internal view resolver, and then we just name it view resolver, and then within here we're going to say internal view resolver, alright, and then we're going to say resolver dot set prefix. So we haven't created this folder path here, this folder yet, but we will do shortly. So we have to say web dash inf, then we're going to call it views. Slash. Alright, so remember, because we added the web starter package here, so this comes with a Tomcat server already within the application, within the dependency. So Tomcat is going to be looking for a folder like this one. Actually, there's a little bit more that we still need to do, but it will be looking for this, and so that's why I'm naming it this way. The Tomcat server that's gonna run our application is gonna be looking for this web inf within a web app folder. We will create that shortly, just bear with me for now. Now the next thing we need to do is resolver dot set, I think it's suffix, and then because we're going to be working with JSP files, we have to say .jsp. And then the other thing that we need to set up is set view class, and then this is going to be the JSTL view class. Alright, and then the next thing we need to do is return resolver. Okay, so yeah, so this class, configuring it this way, this is going to allow us to work with JSP files. The other thing we need to do here is an annotation to say add bean. Make sure to add this, otherwise Springboot will not pick this up. Alright, so what else? So there's other things as well. Let me see, what is it? Sorry, it's supposed to be protected. Oh, my apologies. The other thing we need to do here at the top is extend a particular package. So we're going to say web, I think it's app mvc configuration support, and then that's why it wasn't picking up that method. So we have to add resource handlers. Okay, so now for now we don't have to add anything, but I'll show you what we need to do here. For now, let's just leave it as it is. So we come back here within the Java app, and then we need to add the folder, package or directory. So make sure to name it this way, because that's what the Java Tomcat server is going to be looking at. It's going to be looking for this folder called web app. So now in here we're going to create that folder that we made earlier on, which is web inf, and then within here we're going to create another directory. We're going to call it views. So remember, it's web inf and then views, right? Okay, so in here I'm going to create my first index.jsp file. Alright, so now to show that this is working, I need to also add this expression over here. And then remember, within our index file we said that we're going to add this page title, right? So that's what I want to call within here, page title. So if the configuration is fine, let me close this. If the configuration is fine, it should be able to pick up this name called home, right? And then it should display it here. In fact, let me just do this. Welcome to this should be welcome to the home page, right? One more thing is the database configuration. So because we have this dependency, this MySQL connected dependency here, the moment we run this application, it's going to fail, because it's going to be looking for some database configuration within our properties file here. So let's work on that. So what we need is a couple of things. All right. Let's leave that for now. Okay, and then we're going to say so this is going to be com dot mysql okay. So now the username, the password is gonna be Jason123. The other one, the username will definitely be Jason. And then I'll show you now the URL string that we need. My apologies, you're not supposed to have these quotation marks here. Alright, so the database, I'll just call it user auth underscore v1. Now we haven't created this database yet, but I'll show you now shortly. The other thing that I want to just add here is the server port. So the server port, I'm going to make this 7001. Alright, I think for the configuration within our properties file, that's all that we need. So now let's talk about the database. So I have MySQL Workbench installed, so that's what I'm going to be using for the time being. So I just want to connect into the database itself and create that user. So now I'm gonna come within here where it says user privileges. Now I don't have the user yet, but I'm gonna add the account. So the username will be Jason, and then the password is gonna be, what did I make it? One second. It's gonna be Jason123. I'm just gonna paste it there, and then let's see. That should be fine. So I'm gonna apply this. Consider using a password with okay, I'm gonna paste that and put an exclamation mark. Okay, so let me see. I just added an exclamation mark at the end, so I'll just put that there. Alright, so now let's create a database. So in fact, I also have the CLI, the command line version of it. So if I say show, you can see there's no database called user auth underscore v1. Now I prefer working in this because of the dark layout. This is way too bright for me. I can't stand this, so I'm just going to use the command line to create a database. But basically the same thing I'm doing there, you can do it within MySQL MySQL Workbench. And then it's going to be user auth underscore v1. Okay, so if I say show databases, the database should be now there. Now because we need to give that user that we just created privileges to be able to work with that database, if I come back to right, let me do it this way. Okay, so I'm just running this particular command to give Jason or this user all privileges, basically delete, select, update, delete, etc. So just type it out like this. Hopefully it doesn't give me an error. Every now and then it has a tendency of just giving me issues, like for example identified by at line 1. Schemas. Okay, so basically what I'm doing here is giving this user privileges, right? So I'm going to select, there should be an option to select all. For some reason the layout is not showing it. That should be all of them. we've created the user and then we've given him all the privileges. Chances are, I'm not sure if this password is gonna work, but we'll see in it just now. Alright, so I think that's pretty much everything. We've got the database, we've got the user set up. Let's try and run the application and let's see, hopefully everything is in order. Right, so we're just gonna click run. Okay, there's an error somewhere. Driver. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me try this first. I'm gonna comment this line out and then try to run the application again, because it seems to be failing with this line here. So let me try and run it again. JDBC. Oh, my apologies. There's a spelling mistake here at the beginning. Some of you probably saw it, but yeah. So there's a spelling mistake on my side here. So let's try again. Probably it's gonna fail again. I think that's why it failed the first time. But let's see. Okay, now I just got this pop-up on my side. So if you do, also allow access. Alright, so it looks like it is running on port 7001. So let's see if everything is in order. Alright, so I'm gonna say localhost port 7001 / welcome to the home page. So now if you're seeing this, that means the configuration for JSP is working, otherwise we would have gotten an error. So let me see here, there's no errors over here. So that means our configuration should be up and running when it comes to working with JSPs. So because of that, now another thing, we don't have to do it within this video, I'm just going to show you quickly. So I did design the application already. I didn't want to waste time trying to show you how to design the layout and whatnot. But for example, we have I have this folder here, which has, or I have this repository. I'm also going to share this. So we're going to be copying the template that I created here onto our project. The other thing that I want to show you is that I used Bootstrap to do most of the layouts. So if I were to come back here and if I were to come into let's say this part here, index.html. So as you can see at the beginning, at the top there, I've imported it using the CDN. This is going to be easier than just using the to download the files themselves. So I'm just going to copy this template here. Again, I'll leave a link in the description below, and then we can come back into our file here, index.jsp. Then I'm just going to copy and paste it within here. So here I'm going to remove the welcome, and then I'm just going to put that expression back. We're going to call it page title. Right, I have to stop the server, and then let's just wait for it to finish stopping, and then we're going to run it again. Alright, so again, I'm in the index file, the index.jsp file, and then let's run the application. Okay, so up and running. So if I come back here, if I refresh, we should see the whole user phone. Okay, I know why it's doing this. So the other thing that we need to do is come within the static folder. We're going to create two more directories. The first one is going to be CSS, and then we're going to create another one. This one is going to be images. Now let me refactor this. Okay, so it should be two different folders, and then I'm going to create, I believe it's a colors.css, and then another file called style.css. Okay, so now if you come back to my repository here, we can go into this folder. You can go into the colors file. Just going to copy everything that's in here and then paste it here. Okay, and then we're going to go back there again, CSS. We're going to come into the style file. Well, there's nothing much in here, so but let's copy that, and then flip. Okay, my mistake. You need to copy these colors into the colors.css, not style.css, right? And then let's come back again here. Let's copy this, go to style.css, which is this one, paste it there, right? Let me close this. Okay, so if I run this, oh wait, my apologies again. So like I said earlier on when we were doing the configuration, we have to come back here within our config file, and then here within the add resource directory, there's a couple of things we need to change or need to add. So for now, the first one we're going to add is, I'm just going to copy the code quickly, then I'm going to paste it here. So this registry object here is coming from this registry object over here, which is being input through the parameters. So from this registry we have access to this method over here. So basically what we're doing here is we say add resource handler. So whenever you look within the resource directory here and you file css dot whatever, images dot whatever, js dot file, if you find any of these folders here, oh sorry, what I'm trying to say here is that if you see any of these, we're telling Springboot that if you see any of these attributes, css, images, js, whatever, for example, you see this here, we're telling Springboot if you see this css dot whatever, anything that comes after css slash whatever, and then you see anything else, like for example, well, this is being pulled into a CDN, but if there was like a file that we have, a folder that we have for like JS files, we're practically doing the same thing here, where we are telling Springboot that if you see any of this within these JSP files, to find these files you just have to look within the static the class path, and then look within the static folder, CSS folder. Same goes for the images, same goes for the JS files. So here, because we have only the CSS and images file, let's change this to small letters. Let's change this as well to small letters, and let's just make sure that it's also the same here. Right, so right now we don't have any images, which is fine, we will deal with that later. But we're basically just telling Spring Boot that if you see any of these attributes, look within the static class path and then attach whatever file or image to this onto our view. So for now, because we don't have images, this is not going to show, but let's just see if our style sheets are going to be working. So I'm going to run the project again, and then we'll take it from there. Just hold on. Okay, so hopefully that's worked. So if we come back to our application, as you can see, our style sheets are now showing. So now we have the style of our landing page. So now let's talk about the images. So now I have these images named. So let me see, within our page, I believe I named the image Undraw. So the simplest thing I can do is basically to download this whole folder. Let's come back here. I think let me start with this. What's the name of that file? Undraw my app whatever. Okay, which is this one over here. So I want to download this file, and I'm just going to create a folder here called images, and then save it within there. Then I'm going to come back here where I've downloaded the file. I'm just going to copy it, and then I just want to paste it within here. Okay, so let's close this. Alright, I have to stop the file. So as you see, I have to stop the project. So as you can see, the image is not currently showing here. So because we just downloaded it and saved it, and paste it within our images folder here, so we should be able to see it after this. So let me run the project. Okay, so now let's come back here. Let me refresh. So there, now our image is showing. So guys, I think that's it for the video in terms of the setup and everything. Like I said, when we move to the sign in page, when we move to the sign up page, we're gonna practically do the same thing. We will just basically download the images one by one, or we can, or if you can just download the whole project. You'll have access to the images, like I showed you within the demo project. I got all these images from Undraw. Again, I'll leave a link in the description below. But for the time being, I think that should be it in terms of the setup of the project, the initialization of the project. I hope I was clear, and hopefully you guys were able to follow along. Obviously we found a couple of glitches there and there, but hopefully the video was smooth enough and all of you were able to see and understand the whole configuration and all that. So for now, I think within the next video we'll probably work on the let me see, I think we'll probably work on the sign up page. I think that should be, I think if we start with this one, because this one is a little bit more complicated, there's a lot more that we need to work with, and so I think if we can get through the sign up page, everything else should be simple. The sign in page is pretty much 2 fields, we just need to authenticate and log in. But for this one, I think this one should be the one we start up with, so probably within the next part of the video we'll be working on this. So I think that's it for the video. Again, hopefully you've enjoyed what you've seen so far. Hopefully everything that I was clear with everything, with all the instructions and whatnot. But in any case, if not, just start the video again from the beginning. Just try and follow along, and then we'll take it from there. Again, everything else I'll share within the description below, and then yeah, we'll see you guys within the next part of the video. Thanks again, guys, for watching. Cheers for now.